Donald Trump encourages and endorses and embraces violence. So I'm afraid that we need to hold on tight because I think things are going to get even darker.
So, Glenn, this press conference with the FBI and state authorities has been pushed back again. I hate to say it, that we're in a place where I don't know if anybody trusts what they're going to say. I mean, the fact that the president announced this on television this morning, that they had the guy, but then seemed to hedge a little bit. Fox's Brian Kilmeade says the FBI is in disarray. I mean, they've been taking heat from the left and the right. I mean, yesterday, Olivia said, if Kash Patel's FBI cannot get answers about how one of the most powerful Republicans in the country was murdered in broad daylight with hundreds of witnesses, what makes you think they will ever be able to solve cases for regular people? I mean, they have fired all of the competent career people that worked there. I have to say, boy, if one thing unites America, it's knowing that whatever the FBI is doing is incompetent, whether it's the Epstein files or this. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so the FBI is in crisis. It has an illegitimate leadership. This all inures to the danger of the American people. And, you know, I at least was pleased to see that some of the wrongfully terminated FBI leadership sued Kash Patel this week.
Yeah. And
what I love is they quote Kash Patel in the opening salvo of this new lawsuit as saying, look, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but they quote it, and that's important for why I'll explain it in a second. They say, look, I know that these terminations would be wrongful and unlawful, but I need to fire you all if I'm expected to keep my job. In other words, Trump will fire me if I don't unlawfully fire you. First of all, Steph, that's the opposite of leadership. Yeah. I want to keep my job, so I have to fire people wrongfully and unlawfully. But, you know, when they put those things in quotes in the court filing, I suspect that these senior FBI officials might have had the good sense to surreptitiously audio record Kash Patel.
Oh, boy.
And I hope they did, because Kash Patel will not be able to say, I never said those things. So it's all going to come crashing down, but it's all going to work to the detriment of the safety of the American people.
Yeah, well, I said that yesterday, Glenn, is we should all be concerned about this. You know, no decent person is for this, this kind of violence. And it was unsettling that this guy's been on the loose. And Chris and I now are saying, like, they obviously have already set the template. You know, I mean, Trump has so, what's the word, dangerously already said this is somebody from the left or blamed the left for this with no information. Then they put out false information about something that seemed like easily sniffable BS about, you know, trans or Antifa ideology on the what was it, the ammunition or something. I mean, and everybody was all over this. Kevin says, Kash Patel wants you to believe a trained gunman who hit his target on the first try was also an idiot who etched words into some bullets and left them lying around on the floor. I mean, this is dangerous when nobody, and for different reasons on the left or right, trusts what the FBI is going to say, or whether they just need to produce a scalp.
Yeah. So I think what Trump is trying to do, not to deflect from a discussion about a horrific murder of somebody for, you know, exercising his First Amendment free speech rights. I can disagree with every word that comes out of Charlie Kirk's mouth. But, you know, we're at a place where, you know, political violence seems not just acceptable, but maybe even exactly what Donald Trump wants. Steph, wasn't he probably the first president in America who said at a campaign rally, that guy out there in the audience who's, you know, exercising his First Amendment rights, knock the hell out of him, and I will pay your legal fees. Donald Trump encourages and endorses and embraces violence. So I'm afraid that we need to hold on tight because I think things are going to get even darker.
Chris?
I guess the shooter has been identified as 22-year-old Tyler Robinson from Utah. So they're releasing some information now.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, Glenn, I was saying to your point, you did a bunch of sexy liberals with us, and you know the kind of security we had to have, you know, metal detectors and plainclothes cops, and so there's none of us well, I mean, again, decent people, but basically any of us in the public sphere that are going to say this is okay, or that haven't experienced death threats ourselves. I mean, you remember when we did Boston, Lawrence O'Donnell flew up to Boston to do it with us. It was the day of the Butler, Pennsylvania thing, so he obviously had breaking news, but also NBC wouldn't allow him to do anything, obviously, without NBC security there, despite we had like several layers of security. So, this is the world that we live in, and there's nobody that can't be horrified by what happened to Charlie Kirk. But I feel like, as I keep saying, there's no wound Trump can't throw salt in. And there are people on the right now advocating for violence and retribution.
And Trump is ginning it up rather than tamping it down, which is what we've come to expect from him. He has never been able to console the nation in times of crisis. What I wish is that the Democrats and the Republicans, I know people yell at me like, don't be so naive and Pollyanna, Glenn, but I wish the Republicans and the Democrats could at least, make a show of force and unity and say, listen, yes, we disagree about everything every day, but we need to stop the political violence and we need to tone down the rhetoric, and that's true on both sides. And I know why they won't do that. I think I know. It's because they're afraid of alienating dear leader and losing even a small fraction of the support of the MAGA base. But for gosh sakes, at some point, care about the lives of your own constituents, if nobody else. But, alas, that's not the moment we're in.
Yeah, Glenn, I have to push back a little bit on the. I don't hear this kind of rhetoric coming from any. I mean, again, you can't account for every fringe on the internet or whatever. But prominent Democrats, they don't engage in this. Yesterday, Nancy Mace. It sounds like the shooter was a tranny or pro-tranny. I mean, I have a stack, Chris. I don't even know who some of these people are, right-wingers, just saying wildly irresponsible things yesterday, that would incite further violence. And there is no Democrat that did that. And that's the problem. It's like, to solve the problem, Glenn, we have to go, the actual statistics are 97% of this violence is, right-wing extremism, as Chris Wray told us, right?
I don't disagree with you, Steph, but I do think both parties need to step up and both parties need to send the message,
right?
In unison that, we've got to knock this crap off, because if we don't, violence begets violence. Political violence begets political violence, and I'd hasten to add, it wasn't always that way. I remember when Ronald Reagan was shot, that didn't cause an explosion of political violence. I mean, but in the age that we're in, with Trump and some of his supporters, including in Congress, thinking that violence against your perceived enemy is okay, it's an appropriate way to behave in American democracy, that is the problem.
Make them debate God. Make them debate Jesus. And this is all the stuff that you guys say that they have a problem with.
Does that work? How does that work on Scott Jennings?
It's quite interesting. I want to tell you about it. I was on CNN with our friend from Kentucky, and he was talking about the illegals. I call them Christian refugees because that makes him angry, Jesus. I knew you did. God of the Hebrew Scriptures commands us to welcome the stranger and treat the alien as one of our own. And Jesus in Matthew 25 says that individuals and nations are going to be judged by how they welcome the stranger. So I had to say on CNN, why should I listen to you and Donald Trump and ignore God and Jesus? How'd I do?
Nice gotcha moment, pulling the Bible out.
Simon & Schuster's Avid Reader Press presents Separation of Church and Hate, the bold, hilarious new book from John Fugelsang, available September 9th and on sale now at your local independent bookstore or your favorite non-evil website.